Meditation is just hanging out with your soul. That's all it is. You see, so many people have made it so complicated, and we start meditating, maybe we're new to it, and there's all these misconceptions that have come from these over-complicated ideas and teachings about what it is. And so we start meditating and we're trying to apply all these specific techniques and methods, and we're thinking about this and that, and we're not experiencing what we want to experience in meditation because of all the stuff that's preventing us from what it simply is. And so that happened to me when I first started meditating. I had these misconceptions, and the misconceptions were the very things that were preventing me from experiencing that inner stillness and the peace and all the things I was trying to attain. But you see, that in and of itself, the attainment mindset, is one of the biggest misconceptions, one of the biggest hindrances to meditation. Because meditation is not about attaining anything. It's actually about letting go of all the different things and ideas and thoughts and beliefs that prevent us from experiencing who we really are. So when you understand that you are what you seek, what you are looking for, is what is looking. When you understand that on a deep experiential level, then you view meditation completely differently. So now you're meditating not to attain anything. You're not trying to have a mystical experience. You're not trying to have more peace. You're not trying to have more fulfillment or clarity or whatever. No, you're just simply hanging out with your being. And you're letting go of all the things that are not really you. You're letting go of the attachments. You're letting go of the limitations, the subconscious programming and the conditioning. Thank you, son. And all the stuff that clouds us. See? That's what meditation is. So this is something else I learned when I first started meditating. Meditation is a very individual sport. Your way of meditating will not look like, or it might not look like, anyone else's way of meditating. And you have to be okay with that. One of the most important elements of meditation is honesty, being real. So, it's all about, this is self-discovery, it's self-realization. Like I said, it's all about remembering who you really are, and none of it has to do with attaining something you don't already have. So with that in mind, when you start meditating, your focus, what you're looking to experience is the truth of your nature, the real you. And by you, I don't mean the ego. I don't mean this sense of being a separate self. I mean the true self behind all the different stuff, the labels, the attachments, the narratives, the conditionings, the real you. So that's why I say it's hanging out with your soul. It's the core of your being. And with this process, there has to be self-compassion, because what happens is when you start meditating, it's not all love and light and peace. At first, it's hell, because you're sitting there, you're trying to experience stillness, you're trying to experience inner peace or whatever it is, and the mind just becomes super active, and it brings up stuff from the past, and now you're having past memories and thoughts and feelings, and there's all these distractions and these images, and you don't want to be still, and so you feel like you're wasting time. You feel like all these things are just bringing you out of the experience. See? So that's why I say it can be hell at first. And this is where there has to be self-compassion. Self-compassion brings you through the hell. And the more self-compassion you have for yourself, the more you realize, okay, I naturally transcend out of this hole, out of this hell of like the distractions and the inner demons, if we want to call them that. The things that are just trying to prevent us from seeing the truth. And a lot of it has to do with subconscious programming, years of conditioning, years of being told that you're not enough, years of being told that you're a sinner, years of being told that there's something inherently wrong with you, you see, and that you need something to happen in order for you to be okay, in order for you to be worthy or enough. Those are all bullshit lies that we get programmed with in many different ways. So you're dealing with all of that coming up because it's manifesting, because as soon as you go beyond the surface, as soon as you go beyond the thinking, analytical, distracting mind, and you just sit with yourself, that's why a lot of people can't do that. You see, a lot of people can't be alone because it's too much. There's too much going on. There's too many thoughts and memories, and it's scary. And then anxiety arises, depression arises, because we cope with all these different things and distractions, and that's the last thing that we want to do is face our own shadow, right? So it's just distraction after distraction, and that's why we're on our phones so much, and we're on social media, and we're watching this, and we're watching that, because like the idea of just sitting and being still and practicing presence is terrifying, because we know about the demons in there. We know about the things that are going to come up and be right in front of our face when we try to get still. So there has to be self-compassion. And that's really, I mean, you could even switch the word meditation out for self-compassion or self-acceptance, because that's what's going to get you through the early stages of being in the stillness, in the silence. So, man, that wind is picking up. I'm having to hold the phone down right now, or hold the stand down right now. So when you start meditating, let's say you have a timer. Let's say, I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. You can meditate for however long you want. But you start meditating. Well, as soon as you hit start on that timer, you're just spending time with you, and you're allowing whatever it is that's going to arise and come up to come up. And instead of, this is the practice, okay? This is the self-compassion. This is the acceptance. This is the embrace. Instead of doing what you would naturally do, which, might be to ignore it, push it away, resist it, you do the opposite. If you're in a boat and there's waves, you go straight into the wave. You don't go away from it. You don't run parallel with it. No, you go straight into it. So that's what you're doing when you're meditating. You're allowing these different energies, these different emotions within you to just be. You're facing it. And when you do this, see, here's the thing. Everything you're experiencing within yourself is energy, because everything is fundamentally energy. So at the deepest level. So energy is naturally moving. It's flowing. It wants to flow. It wants to move and do what it does. But when we resist it within us, when we repress it or suppress it, that is when it builds up. That's when it turns into this inner demon thing. And from time to time, it will manifest from the subconscious, from the unconscious. That's why Carl Jung said, you have to make the unconscious conscious. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So now we're kind of getting into some shadow work, inner work, which you'll see once you start meditating, that just becomes part of the journey, that becomes part of the process. There's really no getting around that, especially when you're getting into deep meditation, because in order to go really deep in meditation, you're going to have to go through these different things that are coming up that are preventing us from going deeper, these different blockages. So the question is, okay, how do I actually do this? How do I embrace, and how do I have self-compassion and self-acceptance and self-love and all these things? Well, it's what Carl Jung said. You have to make the unconscious conscious so it's awareness. The light of your awareness, the power of your presence is divine. It's the divine light. You bring that into the darkness, into these places within yourself that you've rejected, that you've pushed down. You become aware. That's the first step. Awareness, awareness, awareness. And you're not trying to control. You're not trying to get rid of. You're just allowing it to be. You're welcoming it. And that's like going to throw everything off, because your subconscious is programmed, or it's been programmed all these years to resist and push away and reject. But now you're doing the opposite. So this is going to start this brand new process of reprogramming your subconscious mind through awareness, through presence, through love, the power of love. So you're working through this. You're noticing these things are coming up. Instead of saying, oh no, I'm having this thought about the past, something that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now I'm distracted. Now I'm not meditating. No, include that. Include that in your meditation. That's a very important part of the meditation. Like I said, once you start that timer, anything that comes up in your awareness, you welcome it. You say, oh, look at you. Of course, come on in. You want to be a part of this meditation? Yeah, you can be a part of it. Of course. There's a seat for you. You're welcomed here. That is the awareness, embracing whatever the thing is with love and with acceptance. And that is what dissolves the blockage over time. And this is not stuff that happens overnight, so don't hear what I'm not saying. This is a journey. It takes time. It takes patience. And it takes a lot of, like I'm saying, self-compassion and acceptance, which, yeah, you gotta be real. You gotta be honest with this stuff. But once you start to do this, and you learn what it's like to go within, and you're noticing these changes within yourself, then it does become easier. And it does, because you're learning so much and you're gaining so much wisdom, and there's experience, you see. So that's part of the soul's evolution. But you're hanging out, yeah. So you're hanging out with your soul. That's all you're doing. You're not complicating it with these like spiritual words and techniques and methods and philosophies. So this is something that anyone can do. Anyone can meditate and hang out with their soul. Now here's the thing. Let's say you were hanging out with someone else, okay? Let's say a really good friend, a close friend, and you're hanging out with them, and they're a good friend, so they're an honest friend. And they're telling you all these things, and they're being real with you, and a lot of it's heavy, it's deep stuff that they're working through, that they've been going through. And how are you gonna, if you're a good friend too, and you're spending time with them and you're being real with them, how are you gonna treat that person? How are you gonna treat your friend that's sharing all this stuff with you, that's telling you these things? Well, if you're a good friend, you're gonna listen. You're just gonna listen, which is awareness. You're gonna give them your undivided attention through your presence, step one. And then you're gonna have compassion for them where they are unable to have compassion for themselves, you see? So what you can actually do in meditation is, when the ego is doing what it does and manifesting how it manifests during your meditation, you approach it like you would approach, or any emotion or any kind of egoic identity or tendency or whatever it is that's arising in your awareness, you approach it like you would approach that good friend. You listen, you give it your attention, your awareness. And then, again, how are you going to respond to the friend? What's going to be your words of wisdom? What's going to be your approach? What's going to be your embodiment in that moment? Well, again, if you're a good friend, it's going to be honesty, of course, but it's also going to be unconditional love, non-judgment, right? Acceptance, compassion, understanding, empathy. All these things are going to be coming from you, and that person is probably going to receive it well, and if it's genuine, and there's going to be some kind of healing, some kind of transformation that happens in that moment. So, okay, I think most of us get that. Most of us know that, yes, it's easy, or it's easier to have compassion and understanding for other people than it is for ourselves when we're going through some deep shit, right? I get that, but that's part of the journey, that's part of growing. See? You have to be able to have the same compassion that you have for others, that you have for your friends. You have to be able to have that for yourself. And the key is non-judgment. Non-judgment, like I said. Non-judgment, unconditional love. There's nothing more powerful than that in the universe. So, when you're meditating and you're hanging out with your soul, you embody the same love, non-judgment, compassion, understanding that you would have for someone else, but for your own self, for your own soul. And in that moment of, that's integration, that's wholeness. So, I'm talking dualistically, like you and your soul, but they're actually just all the same thing. But this is how I'm framing it up, because when this level of awareness kicks into gear in your meditation, what you see is that there are no fragmented parts of yourself. There is no you and soul and this. No, it's all one. And wholeness is really deep down what we're longing for, because that's reality. We're living in this illusion. Now I'm starting to talk a little bit more straight and real. So so we're living in this illusion of separateness and Maya. And that's where we're experiencing all these different things that are keeping us from our true nature. So when wholeness starts to become realized, again, it's not attained, it's realized in the meditation, then the illusion dissolves into the nothingness, into the illusion that it actually is. And it's not able to control us. It's not able to keep us limited anymore, you see. But the only way to the realization of the inherent wholeness that we have, is through compassion. It's through love. These are the emotions, these are the energies that connect us to what is, that show us the truth directly for ourselves. But look, this is just you hanging out with you. That's what meditation is. And the focus is inner transformation and self-realization, so that you can let your authentic light shine in the world around you, so that you can help others have their own awakening experience, and you can be real with other people, and you can say, hey, look, I started meditating and I didn't know anything about it, and I had all these different ideas about it, maybe these misconceptions, these different stereotypes, but then I learned that it's actually a lot simpler than what people have been making it out to be. And I just started setting a time each day to hang out with myself, which at first was challenging and very difficult to navigate. It was actually terrifying, you could say. But this too shall pass, and that storm that was clouding, that was preventing me from seeing who I really am, eventually faded as I embraced it, as I accepted it, as I loved it, as I stopped judging it. And then I could see the crystal clear, blue, infinite, eternal, glorious sky that is my true nature, that has been there all along. Behind the clouds, behind the storms, behind the lies, behind the programming, behind the conditioning, behind all the shit that gets in the way of what is. And I just made it a priority. See? To me, that's what true meditation is. And to me, that's what produces, that approach is what produces the most amount of genuine spiritual transformation. Now, I might be wrong, I might be off, but this has been my experience. I know this has been the experience of others, but if you are someone who is at a place where you're really wanting to get into meditation, yeah, this is something I would highly recommend. This approach, this view of it, this starting place is a really healthy place to start. And it's bringing your awareness into the core, you know, so you're really bypassing a lot of the meaningless shit that just distracts us and keeps us in the mind, the headspace, the analytical thinking, all of that. You move past that really quickly when you go to the heart of what we're actually doing in this practice. And we can use language that makes sense, that is relatable to many people when we're explaining, okay, what are you doing when you meditate? Oh, I'm just hanging out with my soul. I'm spending time with myself. See? And in the spending time with myself, I'm letting go of who I think I am, which is ego, mental construct, and I'm experiencing, I'm realizing who I really am. That's what meditation's about. It's about you, it's about your soul, it's about your journey, your path, your authenticity. It's not going to look like anyone else's, and you have to be okay with that. See? Going back to hanging out with friends, like your relationship with your best friend is going to be unique in and of itself. It's not going to look like other people's relationships with their best friends or whatever. No, this is a very, very unique experience that we're all having. We're all having different experiences, and the journeys are different, the paths are different, the circumstances are different. So you got to move past that mindset of, oh, it worked for them, so this must work for me. And no, you gotta spend time with yourself and figure out where your own intuitive heart is leading you and what that looks like, and how to trust your heart, how to trust yourself, how to move past the conditioning that has been instilled within you that has said you can't trust yourself. Like, all that has to be something that you do on your own. Yes, there's guides, there's people that can help us to go within our own inner being, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but what I'm saying is ultimately it has to be you. It has to be your direct experience. It has to be something that aligns with your soul, because that's where you're going to experience the most amount of genuine growth and evolution and transformation. And I think that is one of the main reasons why we're having this human experience to begin with, to grow, to evolve, to transcend. So I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.